Man, that'll work. That's not too blurry. Clean a little lens off. Yeah, it looks pretty good now. So, um, this is the season finale of season two. Episode 13. It's titled ABQ, I believe. Man, now I think I know I've said this in the past that several of these episodes could be movies. This one was a movie. It was a short movie. I, when they decide to turn on the pressure full blast, I mean, there's no stopping them. There's a hell of a team and a hell of a hell of a group of actors behind this series. Um, I can understand. I clearly see, without a doubt, I clearly see why this series had so many different accolades. I think I'm using that word right. I can clearly see why this series did so well for itself. Um, it's a step above a lot of shows that I've seen, and for okay, I lead it out of there, but a lot of movies as well. But I won't compare it to movies because uh, teleplays and screenplays, from my limited knowledge, different ball games. But let me try and, from what I can remember, it's so layered in this episode. So many things are happening, but I think the reason that it's so layered is because in any show, season finales tend to get stacked with a lot of information. So while they're on break, it gives the viewers something to talk about and speculate, and of course, it well, it leads them so many different doors open for uh, a lot of possibilities later in the next season, which is smart. But uh, so the episode begins. Episode, of course, the episode begins where the last one left off. So Pinkman wakes up to his dead lover, dead girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, and he didn't do too well the last time he was around somebody who he felt he killed. We could try and just break down that. Just try and start to break down that. So if if you're not in a mental place, uh, if you're not in, trying to word this correctly, if you're not in uh, okay, if you're not mentally fit enough uh, to understand or to take on somebody being harmed, or in this case murdered, um, and it happens, you're gonna fall apart. You're gonna crumble. I'm not saying it's different for every person, of course, and this is definitely digging from real life. Not my personal experience, but just real life in general. That's just what I've seen. You're not gonna be strong enough. You're not just gonna be stable enough for that. And I feel like the actor who plays Pinkman plays it to a T. I mean, he just falls down into himself to the point where he's trying to cope with using these really strong drugs, but later on in the episode you see that doesn't even work. So I mean, for the last few episodes, he had been basically tapped out anyway because he was trying to escape everything that's happening. It's snowballing, which means it's getting bigger as it gets to the end of the hill, and to the bottom of the hill, I should say. And this character is not suited for that. Now he definitely felt a certain type of way, like for this other character, but I was suspicious of her character. I thought there was something else. I mean, but then it came to light that she literally was an addict, and that's all. And in the last episode with the chance meeting of Mr. White and her father, it that just dude that coincidence, or that being tied to those that meeting being tied together, that meeting actually happening in the series is a work. It's a little piece of gold. It's a gem. It's something that you wouldn't expect, but enriches the experience. Now, I did my best to try to explain Pinkman's state in this episode. Now I'll try to move on to who should I try to explain next? Mrs. White. Let's just go after her. So she's doing decent. She's fine in this episode. She's dealing with the newborn baby. She eventually winds up having to take care of Mr. White because in this episode he goes for his surgery to remove any remnants of the cancer that's left. And before he goes, which this is something true, if anybody's gonna have a major surgery, even if you're getting your wisdom teeth pulled out, be wary of your secrets because those drugs that they use to put you under are very strong, and they're gonna induce loose lips. Takes one slip up by Mr. White. She asks him, "Did you bring your phone?" And he says, "Which one?" Boom. Everything was going down a decent path until that happened. And kudos to her as an actress because she was able to the look on her face, her body movements, her gestures, everything says to the audience, from what I can see, that oh, it's like that. So she's gonna investigate what she winds up doing, and all of his little secrets come crumbling apart. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Unbelievable. I'm completely on her about this. I'm completely with her now. I understand her point of view. You're hiding too many things from me. Not to say that hiding anything is good, but you're being super secretive and nothing's adding up. That's a lot, and she points that out. That's a lot of money to just come out of nowhere. She says, hey, I'm afraid to even know. So that's where she's standing in this episode. Now, let's try to do Junior. Junior's happy because he's created this GoFundMe for his father's surgery, and coincidentally, it's hitting. It's producing money. But of course, him, the brother-in-law, I'll get to the brother-in-law and the sister-in-law in a minute, and Mrs. White. None of them know that he has something like $400,000, and he has a partner who's gave the money to somebody, and they're using technology in order to mask that it's all coming from one place to spread it out. So he's gonna get all of his money pretty much tax free. If I'm not sure about that, I'm not 100% sure. He's gonna get pretty much that whole sum tax free if everything worked out, which I think it still might work out. I'm not 100%. He could. I feel like he could make up something about some type of fake loan or forge some papers, put a letterhead on there, and make it look legitimate, and show it to his wife. Like, I took a loan out. Hey, that's how I was able to pay for that. But thankfully, Junior made this website, and now we can pay that back. Okay, done deal. That's what I would have did, or in his situation. But I don't even think I have the balls to be in his situation. Now, that's where Junior comes into play. This is since I said it, we might as well just go ahead and talk about the in-laws. Now, his sister-in-law is a busybody, very nosy. She has her own issues, of course, that have been brought up in previous episodes, but she's sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. But of course, nobody knows what's actually going on, so it's not like she's doing it to be intentionally. She's doing it intentionally, correct? She's doing it to get on TV, to be semi-famous, I guess. So they bring up a story. It's a news article in the paper about this GoFundMe, but then it turns into a television spot, a television interview. Oh, and Mr. White sits there like an idiot, plastering his face all over the place. So that's where the in-laws stand. Okay. Now, the brother-in-law comes into play again. He's a DEA agent, correct? Wouldn't you know, the person who just bought all of Mr. White and Pinkman's supply is actually I guess you would say a normal functioning member of society. He owns multiple fast food. He owns a chain. He owns what should how should I put it? He owns a fast food restaurant, multiple chains of this fast food restaurant. So he has a lot of money, or would appear he has a lot of money. So he's gonna donate. And what is he doing? He's donating to the DEA, and that's how he winds up meeting his brother-in-law. And his brother-in-law, coincidentally, is doing a fundraiser for Mr. White's surgery. And the guy that just bought all of his supply sees a picture of him. Jesus. It gets so layered and it's so good. I'm so interested to see what happens in the next season. And I think I've missed a couple of things, to be honest with you. I think I've actually missed a couple of things. So I've dealt with the brother-in-law, the sister-in-law, Junior, Mr. White, Mrs. White, and Pinkman. Oh, I didn't even talk about the fact that uh, Pinkman's uh, Pinkman's lover, the deceased girl, her father is an air traffic controller, which is, I looked it up, as one of the highest paying jobs, period, and actually uh, pretty hard to get, of course, and because you're dealing with a lot of people's lives, and he's still dealing with the stress of seeing his daughter dead, and having to deal with the funeral for a very young woman. The age is besides, it's his daughter. He's having to deal with that, and he decides to go back to work when he's actually not physically ready, and he causes two planes to collide. Now, there's another coincidence. When these planes collide, they happen to collide over Mr. White's house. Could you believe that? And there's an instant when the planes crash. The CGI isn't that bad, actually. It looks pretty good. Now these two planes collide, and there's a view from a falling object from one of the planes. It's a teddy bear. It's twirling around. It's twirling around. It's looking at all of this. Like, kind of makes me sick. A overhead view of a suburb, how everything's perfectly placed, and the houses are pretty much the same size and the same colors. I don't really like that type of stuff anyway. But it comes down, whoosh, boom, straight in his pool. It's a great, it's a great shot. Unbelievable, actually. It this is probably one of the, this is one of the better this is one of the better season finales I think I've seen ever. This series has, I couldn't watch this series when it first came out, but I'm kind of pinching myself, or kicking myself is a better phrase, for not jumping on this series earlier, because it's quality stuff. It's a really good series. So next week.